Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Royalty Cut here, and in today's tutorial we'll be learning how to cut and sew a milkmaid dress with front slits. If this is a video you're interested in, please keep on watching to the end, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. So basically for this tutorial, I'll be making use of this stripe material you see over here, and I have about 3 yards. So 3 yards can actually do for a normal body size, but if you're working for a bigger body size, just go ahead and make use of 3.5 yards. So I also have a matching zipper right here that I'll be using for the back piece. Now I have, this is a crepe material. You can actually use any material to recreate the styles, be it Ankara or any kind. So you can actually recreate it with any style. It doesn't really have to be the same crepe material that I'm making use of. Now let's get to the tutorial. The first thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to cut the down piece first, which is the flay part. So technically, I went ahead to fold my fabric in a triangular way, just like you see me do over here. And I had to make sure that this shorter part of the fabric is on the facing side so that I can actually determine where the length of my dress should be stopping. So after folding it into two in a rectangular shape, just like you see here, I'm just going to go ahead and divide my round waist measurement into two. I did not divide by four. So the round waist measurement that I'm working with is 32 inches. 32 inches divided by two will give me 16 inches. So I'm going to be adding 2 inches to the 16 inches, which will be 18 inches in total. So whenever you just divide your round waist into two, just go ahead and add extra 2 inches to it. So I'll go ahead and measure in 18 inches from the tip of this triangular shape. I'll check where 18 inches fits into. Okay, 18 inches fits into this part, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my chalk to mark it down by the side a little bit, just like you see over here. I don't know if it is visible. So this is where my 18 inches actually stopped. So after marking it down from the tip of this triangular shape, my fabric is moving, I just don't know. From the tip of this triangular shape, I'm just going to get the length from the tip to the round waist measurement that I imputed here, and I'm going to take it all the way around. Now this is to avoid the waist area from being straight. So we want to get that curvy part at the waist area. So from the tip to this line I marked here, I have 20. At this point, guys, I did not actually know that the camera was not recording what I was doing at the process, but I'm just going to use this paper to show you a quick thing of what I did before actually discovering the audio that happened to me this afternoon. So after I divided my round waist, just like I told you earlier, I had to look for where it fits into the folded fabric, where it fits into the folded fabric, and I had to mark it. So for here I'll be using about 3 inches. So after marking my round waist divided by 2 plus 2 inches, I went ahead to place my tape at the tip of my fabric to the end, to the place that I marked my round waist measurement, and whatever thing I got, I had to take it all the way round to avoid the waist area from being straight. So here I have 4 inches, so I'm just going to go ahead and take 4 inches all the way round of this paper. So after marking the 4 inch all the way around, this is what I have. And as you can see, the waist area is not looking all that straight. So I went ahead also in order to get the full length of the skirt that I'm working with, I went ahead to subtract my upper body, which is 16 inches. That's from your shoulder to your waist, that's your half length. I placed the 16 inches here, and from the 16 inches I determined the full length of my dress. Now the full length I was working with on my main fabric was 50 inches, but since I'm illustrating it on the paper, I'll be working with 21 inches here. So I went ahead to mark the full length all the way around the fabric, making sure that the 16 inches, which is my half length, is still placed at that same line. So I took 20 inches, I took 21 inches all the way down. just like you see me doing over here. So while doing that, I'll also be moving it to actually get a circle. Now remember that this is a half circle, it is 180 circle, so you don't expect it to be all that full. So after that, I went ahead to cut out the waist area that I measured earlier, and also cut out the full length measurement that I had. And after cutting it out, I was left with something like this on my main fabric. So after that, the next thing I did was to go ahead and slit open this folded edge that I have here. Now remember that we are cutting the front piece of our skirt and the back piece together. So after slit open it this way, as you can see here, I went ahead to move away one piece which will be serving as our front skirt, and the other piece will be serving as our back skirt. So for the back skirt, remember it has the left side and the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and refold this back piece that I have, just like you see me do over here, and refold it again into two. So after refolding it, this folded edge that is closed, I went ahead to slit it open, just like you see me do over here. And after slit opening that side, I also went ahead to notch the part that I just slit open now, to be able to identify where our zipper will be. So this is actually what I did at the front piece. Now at the back piece. So for the front piece, this is the front piece of the skirt that I had to cut earlier. Now for us to get the slit, I'm just going to go ahead and bring the main fabric to show you what I did. So for the front piece of our skirt, I actually went ahead to fold it again, to fold the front piece into two equal parts, just like you see me do over here. I went ahead to fold it. Then after folding it, I notched the center part. I notched the center part. After notching it, I had to open it up again. Now from this notched part that I have here, I'm just going to go ahead and divide my bust span measurement, which is my nipple to nipple measurement, into two. So my bust span measurement is 8 inches. 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches. So you either choose where you want your slit to be, whether by the right or by the left. So for me, my slit will be at the right side. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark from this center point that I notched. I'm going to place my tape ruler here, and I'm going to identify the 3 inches that I have here. I'll identify the 3 inch. Now I'll go ahead to fold the sides of my fabric this way, making sure that the edge of this straight line is close to the 3 inches that I had. So this part does not actually matter. Just make sure that the folded edge is straight from the 3-inch part that you measured earlier. So after doing that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do now is to cut open it. Now, before we cut open it, I'm going to go ahead and determine where I will be sewing and stopping for our slit to start from. So remember that our half length is 16 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and place my tape at 16 inches here, just like you can see. And my knee length is 35 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 35 inches on this fabric. So the purpose of this 35-inch now is, after slitting it, remember we'll be joining it back for us to get the slit. So while joining it back from the waist area, I'll be stopping directly on these 35 inches that I marked here. So the rest of the sides will be open, and that is our slit. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut open this part that I have earlier. Now after cut opening it, this is what it's looking like. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine. Just like I told you, now I'm going to be joining this with about 1 inch. I'll be joining it with 1 inch from the waist, and I'll be stopping at this point that I marked my 35-inch. So I'll be sewing from this line, that I had to cut down with about 1 inch, and I'll be stopping at this point here. So after that, I'll be hemming the remaining sides of the open slit with my hemming gum all the way down to the full length of our skirt. And that is that for the front piece of our skirt. So guys, for the upper body of this dress that we are working with, I went ahead to fold my fabric into two. For our back piece, we are cutting the back piece upper body first. Now remember that what we are cutting is an off shoulder dress, which means it does not have a shoulder. So I'm just going to go ahead and minus 6 inches from our full half length. Now you can choose to do 5 inches, but I think 6 inches is perfect. That's starting from where the off shoulder will be. So here I placed my tape at 6 inches at the tip of my paper, and this tip will be serving as our shoulder line, for instance. Then from the 6 inches, just go ahead and mark your bust point. Now the bust point that I'm working with is 10 inches, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark 10 inches. Also mark your armhole measurement. Now my armhole measurement is 8 inches, so I'll go ahead and mark 8 inches. After that, I'll be marking my waist length measurement, which is 16 inches, and I'll be adding about half of an inch for joining it, which is 16 and a half. So I'm just going to go ahead and extend this line. So after extending the line, as you can see over here, now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to impute our round body measurement. But before that, let's mark the 1 inch that will be serving as our zipper allowance. So after marking the 1 inch over here, this is what is looking like. This is for our zipper. Then at this shoulder line that I have here, I'm going to go ahead and divide my shoulder to shoulder measurement into two. So my shoulder to shoulder measurement is 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. So after getting whatever you have, which is the 8 inches, I'll be removing 2 inches from it, and I'll be left with 6 inches. So after dividing your shoulder to shoulder measurement, just make sure you subtract 2 inches from it. So I have 6 inches after minusing mine, and I'll be adding extra half of an inch for joining it to the sleeve. So I'll be marking 6.5 inches instead at this place. Now at our bust point, remember this is our bust point, this is our armhole line, or you can call it your chest line. Here is the chest line, here is the armhole line, here is the bust point, and here is our waistline. So on our bust point, I'll be dividing my round bust measurement into four. Now the round bust measurement that I'm working with is 36 inches. 36 inches divided by 4 is 9 inches. So here I'm going to go ahead and measure in 9 inches, and I'll be adding extra 1 inches for the joining allowance, and I'll be left with 10 inches. So I'll mark 10 inches at our bust point and also mark the 10 inch as at our armhole curve. So after that, I'll divide my round waist measurement. I'm working with round waist, 32 inches. 32 inches divided by 4 is 8 inches. So from this, the measurement I'm taking is from this 1 inch line for our zipper. So I'll go ahead and mark the 8 inches here, and I'll be adding extra 1 inch for the sewing allowance. Now after that, I'm just going to go ahead and join the lines. Now from the waistline to the bust point, I'll be joining the lines this way. Then from the bust point to the armhole line, I'll be joining the lines too. Then from the chest line to the armhole, I'll be creating my armhole with my curve ruler, just like you see here. From this point measurement that we have here, I'll be connecting it all the way down to this measurement we have at our bust point, just like you see me do over here. Now after that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to cut this out. So after cutting it open, this is what our back piece is looking like. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this together. Now for our dart, I'm just going to go ahead from the zipper line that I marked earlier. I'm going to divide my bust span measurement, that's from your nipple to nipple measurement, into two. So for me, I'm working with 8 inches. From this zipper at the waistline, I'll be marking 4 inches here, just like you see me do over here. So I'll mark 4 inch here, and I'll be extending the 4 inch all the way down to our bust point. So after that, I'll be taking about half of an inch from both sides, just like you see over here, and I'll be connecting it back all the way into the line of this bust span that we have here. So this is it for our dart for the back piece. Now while cutting this back piece on your main fabric, just make sure you add your extra sewing allowance to your dress. Now for the front piece of this top, I'm just going to go ahead and make use of my paper again. I'm just doing this on paper so that it will be visible for us, because my fabric is a little bit too nude for the kind of chalk that I'm using. So for the front piece, I'm going to go ahead and impute my vertical measurements just like I told you earlier. Now remember, we are doing off shoulder, which is -6, and I'll be marking my bust point, which is 10 inches. I'll be marking my chest, my armhole line, which is 8 inches. I'll be marking my under bust line, which is 13 inches. And I'll be adding my waistline, which is 16 inches plus half of an inch sewing allowance. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend these lines. Remember that this is our chest line, this is our armhole line, this is our bust point, this is our under bust line, and this is our waistline. So after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to do the same thing that I did at the chest line for the back, which is your shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2 minus 2 inches. So remember, I did 6.5. So from this point, I'll also be marking 6.5 at the chest line. Then at the armhole line, I'll be marking my round bust measurement, which is 8 inches that I added earlier. So I'm going to mark 8 inches on the bust point and also on the armhole measurement, just like you see here. Now go ahead to and measure your under bust measurement. Now my under bust measurement is 31 inches. So I'll go ahead and divide 31 inches into 4. 31 inches into 4 will give us 7.75. So at this point, I'll be marking 7.75 at our under bust, and my round waist measurement is 32, just like you know. So 32 divided by 4 is 8 inches. So I'll be marking 8 inches directly on my waistline, and I'll be connecting the lines together, just like you see, from the waistline to the under bust line, from the under bust line to the bust point line, to the armhole line in a straight way. So after that, I'll also go ahead and create my armhole curve here. So this is what our front piece is looking like. Now you can choose to add your own allowance on your paper, or you can also go ahead and add your allowance directly on your fabric. So for me, I'll be adding the allowance directly on my fabric, so I'll just go ahead and cut this out. So after cutting the back piece and the front piece together, this is what I have. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold my fabric so that we can cut out our back piece. For the back piece cutting, I'm just going to go ahead and fold my fabric into 2, just like you see me do over here. And I'll be placing the back piece directly on my fabric. Now remember, we are going to be adding extra allowance to the sides of our dress. Also add extra allowance on the tip of it for the folding of the upper body. But if you're working with Ankara, just go ahead and use your lining to turn it over. So after cutting the back piece, for the front piece, I went ahead to fold my fabric into 2, just like you can see. And this folded edge, before we place the pattern paper that we cut earlier, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out this under bust line that I marked. So I'm just going to go ahead and slit open the under bust line. Now after cutting it out, this is what it should be, and I'll be placing this aside. So I'm going to use the remaining paper that I have here to cut out the front piece. After that, I'm just going to go ahead from this folded edge. I'll be measuring 10 inches inward from this point. Now if you want yours to be more gathered at the front, you can choose to add extra inches, but for me 10 inches is perfect. So from this folded edge, I marked 10 inches, and this 10 inches is where my paper will be starting from, just as you can see me here. So I placed the 10 inches directly at that point. So I placed the paper directly at the 10 inches. Now, after that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to, from this our chest line, I'm going to be going up by 2 inches. Now, this 2 inch is for the passage of our elastic band, because we'll be imputing elastic band for us to be able to gather it. So I'm just going to go ahead and impute 10 inches to the upper body, just like you see me doing over here. So I'll be marking these 2 inches all the way down to the full part of this our up. Now after marking the 2 inches, after marking the 2 inches upward, I'm just going to go ahead and connect it back all the way to this armhole place that we have, and I'll be adding extra to allowance at the sides for the joining allowance, because we did not add any allowance to the paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. Cutting the front piece, this is what I have left, so I'm just going to go ahead and unpin this, and I'll also go ahead and place the underbust paper that we cut out earlier on a fabric too and cut it out. Now for this underbust that we had to cut out earlier, just make sure you also identify the upper part and also the lower part. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold my fabric into four. Now we'll be needing this piece into two because we'll be facing it. So this piece, you should go ahead and cut it into two. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold my fabric this way. So placing it, just make sure that you're also placing it at the closed part of it. And I'll be adding extra half of an inch at the upper body, so that we'll go ahead and join it down to the lower body. And I'll also be adding sewing allowances by the side, because we already added to the upper body of this top too. So I'm just going to go ahead and notch just the upper part, so that I'll know which part that is the upper part and the part that is the down part. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this aside. Now over to the up of our top. Now for this, I'm just going to go ahead and place this at the wrong side. This is the front piece of the upper body. I'm just going to go ahead and fold in that 2 inches, creating room for where our elastic will be passing through. So I'll go ahead and fold in the 2 inches, and I'll be right back. So after I went ahead to fold the elastic casing like I showed you earlier, I went ahead to fold it, leaving an opening where our elastic will be passing from. I'm just going to go ahead and bring the band that we cut out for our under bust. Remember, we shared our under bust. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this upper part, fold it to two equal parts, and I'll go ahead and notch the center at the waist area, just like you see me do here. And I'll go ahead and open it to the right side, after which I'll bring one of this underbust band that we had earlier, and I will be placing the center to the center, right side facing each other this way. Now the purpose of this is, as you can see, this is here right now. I'm just going to go ahead at the end of this waist on the bust area. Remember that this our upper body is way too longer than this band we have here. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead is to gather the down part, gather it all the way down to make sure that the ending part will meet it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin the center part. So I'm going to gather this on the bust area to make sure that the end part meets it this way. I went ahead to gather it just like I showed you earlier. This is what it's looking like. I just had to make sure that all the excesses went into that band. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the other band that we also cut the same time that we did this one, and I'll be placing it this way, the wrong way. So I'm going to be bringing the second band. I'll be facing it right side, facing the wrong side of this fabric. So I'm just going to go ahead and place it on top of this fabric this way, and I'll be sewing it directly on the line of the half inch that we sewed earlier. And while flipping it over, I will show you what it looks like after sewing it. After joining the other band, just like I showed you earlier, this is what the wrong side is looking like, and this is what the right side is looking like. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to fold a fabric for our sleeve. For the sleeve, I'll go ahead and fold my fabric into 2 by 10 inches. So I'll be adding extra 1 inch for seam allowance, which will be making it 11 inches in total. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure it. So I have 11-inch here. So for the length, you know the length you want your band to be. So for me, I'll be working with 10 inches. I'll be working with the length 10 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 10 inches here. So this is the 10 inches that I'm working with. Now, after marking the 10 inches, I'll also go to the upper part and I'll also mark at the tip of the tape, not to get confused. Now, after marking at the tip of the tape, now remember too that we added extra 2 inch at our upper body for where our elastic will be passing through. So I'm just going to go ahead and add extra 2 inches to the length of the sleeve that we are working with. So after that, I'll go ahead and cut it out. After cutting this out for the sleeve, just like you see over here, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to bring the upper body of the piece that we had earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this armhole place to also trace the sleeve part of it. So I'm just going to place it at the open edge and not the folded edge. While placing this, just make sure that this folded edge that we already have here is at this point of the 2 inch that we have. I don't know if you can see, because you're going to be folding this upper part. So I already folded this upper body, so I'll be making sure that this folded edge is matching with the 2 inch line that we have and not at the tip of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and trace the armhole just like I told you earlier, so that the armhole with the sleeve will be corresponding. I'm just going to go ahead and notch the center of these two sleeves. Now I'm just going to go over to the sewing machine and I'll be folding in that 2 inch that we have in order to create space for our elastic band. So at the tip here, I'm just going to go ahead and fold in the 2 inch, and I'll also be doing the same thing for the sleeve. So technically, I'm actually done folding the casing at the top of our sleeve, and I also went ahead to open up a space at the end of our sleeve because I'll also be inserting an elastic to it. So I went ahead to open an elastic case for it too. So I just folded it in by 1 inch and created a space for it. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring up our rubber or the elastic that we'll be making use of. Now for the front piece first, this is our front piece. We need to insert an elastic to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure from my armhole to the other armhole at my chest line. So I have about 14 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and subtract 3 inches from 14 inches, and I'll be left with 11 inches. So the elastic I'll be inserting to this upper front body will be 11 inches. So just go ahead and measure yours. After measuring yours, just subtract 3 inches to it. So I have already cut out the elastic for this upper one. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the office pin that we have to actually impute into the elastic casing that we already created for this elastic. After inserting our elastic to the elastic casing that we already provided, this is what it is looking like. As you can see, we already having that effect that we want. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this aside. Now for the sleeve, I'm going to go ahead and use 6 inches elastic insert. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 inches from it. So that is what I'll be imputing at the sleeve of our top. So after imputing it on the upper body, I'll go ahead and impute it to at the other side of the sleeve. So for the sleeve, I was actually done inserting the rubber to it. Now the measurement I used for the upper side of the sleeve, I also use it at the lower side, which is the round arm measurement. And for the front part, I also inserted the rubber the elastic that I cut out earlier, and I had to go over to the sewing machine and use few stitches to hold it down. And this is what the front is looking like, as you can see, and this is what the sleeve is looking like. Now for the sleeve, I'm going to be facing it right side facing each other by folding it this way, and from this curvy part, which is the armhole part, I'm going to be joining it all the way down with about half of an inch or 1 inch. So I'll be joining it from this point to this point with half of an inch, and here will be open because we'll be attaching it to the upper body. So after I was done joining the sleeves, this is what it's looking like, as you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and place that aside. So before we join the sleeve to the fabric, we are going to go ahead and work on the back side of our dress, the skirt and the top. Now remember, this is the front skirt. I also went ahead to join it and stop at the knee measurement that I got earlier, and I also went ahead to hem in the remaining part of it, and this is what the front skirt is looking like. So I'm just going to go ahead and place that aside because I'll be joining it to the upper body just like I showed you earlier. So for the skirt part, I'm just going to go ahead and place the skirt piece on it. So I'll go ahead and place it right side facing each other this way, and I'll be using about half of an inch to join the bands down to the skirt for our front piece. So I'll join it, opening it up. This is what it should be looking like. So I'll go ahead and place that aside because I'll be doing it together with the back piece. Now for the back piece, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to bring the upper body. Now this is the upper body. Remember, we notched the side to identify where the zipper is, and this is where the zipper is. So I'm just going to go ahead and place it right side facing each other to the skirt where the zipper too aligns. So I'm just going to go ahead and look for the right part. So for this upper body, I'm going to be placing it this way. Make sure that the zipper that you notched at the skirt area is facing towards the zipper that you marked at the upper area. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this right side facing each other, and I'll be pinning it down because I'll be sewing the waist together with about half of an inch, and I'll be doing the same thing for the other skirt. So for the back piece, I was actually done joining the upper body down to our skirt part. And for the back piece, I also went ahead to attach the zipper to it. So I went ahead to also place our front piece and our back piece right side facing each other. Now remember that we added allowance to this dress and about on 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and use 1 inch to join the sides, leaving the armhole side open. So I'm just going to start from the armhole line that we have here, and I'll use about 1 inch that we gave for the allowance to join it all the way down to the sides, and also do the same thing for these sides. After I went ahead to join the sides of these pieces together, turning it over to the right side, this is what it's looking like. So like you can see, this is the front slit that we have, and this is the upper body. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to attach our sleeves. Now I'm just going to go ahead and open up this area, as you can see here. Now I'm going to take this part that we shaping with the hand of the sleeve to place it, making sure that the lines are aligning, and I'll use about half of an inch to join to this side and use about half of an inch to join it to this side, and that will be the end of this tutorial. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. See you in our next video. Bye.